Welcome to What's Important to You, the podcast where we explore purpose, passion, and the moments that truly matter. I'm James Dean, and each week I sit down with inspiring guests to uncover what drives them, inspires them, and what's important to them. What if real transformation didn't come from forcing change, but from trusting what's already within you? In this conversation, we explore a journey of self-discovery, healing, and the power of the subconscious mind. It's about letting go of control, uncovering limiting beliefs, and finding freedom through trust and awareness. Today, we find out what's important to Margaret K-Jerczyńska. Hi, Margaret. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm so
really
excited.
excellent. No, really looking forward to this chat. We're going to dive straight in, Margaret, with the first question, which is, what's important to you?
Actually, I was thinking all this morning about this, and then I thought the first thought what comes to my mind was actually knowing myself, my true self, authentic self. That is why all the journey of discovery came out a few years ago, and I'm still keep going to know it more.
That's an interesting way of phrasing, because a lot of people have come on the show and said about to either, something to do with their self or authenticity, but knowing yourself, it's a slightly different sort of phrasing of it. So when you say knowing yourself, what does that mean?
And because we have our shadows, and actually there is the greatest gift and everything, we have to figure it out. Actually, working in hypnotherapy, I'm trying to find out much more about me, actually maybe not really me, my parents, or all society and all of these things, and which part actually is me and which aren't.
Okay, so interesting, the word. So when you say shadow, what do you mean by shadow? I'm interested in that word.
Limiting beliefs, all some things what I don't like in myself, all the things like all habits and actually not mine, almost all of them, and there is much more. I'm still learning, still discovering, and still surprising myself.
Absolutely. And then you said there, when you first asked about knowing yourself, you were talking about your parents or society and all these other things. So is it trying to, because you said a couple of times just straight away, it's like understanding what's you and what's not you, and what's...
Yes, exactly. What is my programming? What I just got from other people around me, thinking that's because this is normal that when you're born in one family in one country, you have some beliefs. Actually, this could be limiting, but usually this is beliefs, and you think that is your true. So it's your true self, but not from the other people from different country. So there is some differences, and then it's a question who I am. What is actually mine? And what isn't?
And I'm interested then in sort of understanding and knowing what that's important to you now. Was that something, when did you sort of start thinking, is that something you've always thought that way, or is it something you came to try and understand knowing yourself?
I think I always was different, and then I was trying to fit in, but this wasn't a good idea because usually not end up in the good position as a people pleasing and all of this. That there was like I was tired and exhausted about all of this because I was just wearing a mask just to please people, and this wasn't good for me.
And when you say, so how were you, do you think, when you look back, how were you fitting in? What were you doing what did that look like?
I was doing everything for everyone, taking care of everyone, making everyone's happy, actually fixing some things for other people, using my own time, not having time for myself. Actually, there was no time for me. And for me, it was fine because I was working.
And what were you doing? Because you say you're hypnotherapy now. What were you doing when it was your work at that point in time?
Long 3 years ago, still 3 years ago, I was a dressmaker, and then I quit because I completely burned out. Many years, because I'm in Balana over 17 years. And I think 2-3 years after I came here to Ireland, because I'm originally from Poland, Then I started to, first I was working in some place, this wasn't for me. And then I had my third child, and then decided to do actually work from home. But then actually my self-worth and all of this, like thinking that actually I'm not good enough. My English level was so low. And the only thing what I knew how to do was doing alteration, making some dresses or something like this. And this was like what I'm doing for many people. People was happy for that. I actually was the best from all male, I think. But there was the thing, the pricing. I was always cheap because I
Okay.
didn't value my job, value myself.
Interesting. And is that something you only came to sort of when you looked back on it, or did you know at the time maybe I was, not charging enough?
There was some thoughts in my mind, but I was thinking that's it's supposed to be like this. It's meant to be like that.
Interesting. So it's an interesting one because there's obviously a huge amount of skill in doing that work that you did, and it must have been for doing it for the time you did it successful. But you said you got burnt out doing it. What did the burnt out look like? Is the question.
Mm, I was afraid of saying no to people because I was thinking that if I'm not help them, then who will? And there is like, I have to help because they have no one else. So I was taking responsibility for everyone's, not giving space for myself and for my own needs. There was like, I never exist for myself.
Okay. And so what was the initial step then that you took away from, because it's, again, I'm always interested in the sort of transitions that people make, because
I
one
didn't
would
choose it.
assume, okay, then
I was
tell me
forced
more.
to do it. But actually, a year before I decided to quit, I was starting with life coaching and
Okay.
some course about being a trainer. And then I was thinking I will be doing dressmaking on half part time, and then the other things because I was so interested in it in the other part time, like just half and half. But then
Okay.
a year later, I got the news that I have to move from my home because we'll be sell for the selling.
Okay.
And then there was the big crash, like the problem with the housing. There was no houses, and then I knew I have to quit it because there is no space. This was not worth to do it, like to rent a space in the town or something like this because of too many costs and everything. And then I started thinking about it. Actually, I'm exhausted. I never
Mm,
thought about it. Actually, I have enough.
that's
Finally.
interesting. Yeah. So the fact that, yeah, so the one side of it, having to move, the challenges that brought, it almost, because you wouldn't physically have the space to then carry on doing
Yeah.
the dressmaking, but then it kind of then, if I'm hearing it right, triggered you to think, well, actually, why am I still doing this? Is it something before I go into, was it something that you did enjoy in previous years doing that work?
Actually, contact with people, talking with them when they came, when we do some measurements or some pin the stuff or everything like to alteration. But then I was left alone because of course, this was like a lonely job with the clients. Like when they bring something or when they came to pick up, was the like conversation, was connection. But then I
Yeah.
was just on my own with all those things, sometimes many difficult things, which I promised them I will figure it out how to do it. But I didn't know in that point. I was just thinking. And I always find out the way to do it. But this was like taking too many times and the price wasn't worth for it
Yeah.
because
It's
I was a
interesting.
fixer.
Yeah.
I was
But
fixing everything
yeah,
around me.
that's really interesting. But I'm interested because I'm always interested in almost what people assume. And this is for people watching or listening as well, thinking dressmaking or alterations or doing, that work and sort of hypnotherapy coaching, they don't seem to think that they're going to ever cross paths. Do you know what I mean? They seem, and this is where people think they kind of put themselves in a box or pigeonhole themselves as one thing. So I'm interested, how did you find out, or what was the sort of, how did you find out about coaching or hypnotherapy? What was it
Mm,
that came up?
Actually, about self-coaching, I was doing self-coaching from 2016 on my own, just to
Okay.
actually being able to start a business, to doing something, actually to speak to people, because I didn't speak much in English at first,
Yeah.
in the first few years. So then I was forcing myself to go into some courses, and then I was just like actually doing the thing what I thought that I will never do, and like overcoming my limiting beliefs, proving myself that actually my beliefs wasn't true,
Okay.
like
And
very
what,
slowly, step to step.
yeah, what was the limiting, that first limiting belief that you overcame?
Actually, later on in 2021, when I was sure that I will be married for the rest of my life, and then I decided I have enough. And then was okay. If this could change because I have enough, then everything could change.
Interesting.
And then a year later, I was starting with the changing about my career and all of this,
Okay.
the
So that,
process.
yeah, because one of the things that's coming up was that, and you said it from the start, was one thing about knowing yourself, and even say when doing the dressmaking, the whole thing of valuing yourself. Was that the thing then of like, well, actually, when we talk about value, that, you're worth, you can, and then it's worth doing for yourself.
This was making me happy when I was doing all those things. I remember that
Yeah.
first dresses, what I was designing and creating, I was almost crying when I have to give it away to the clients, because this was
Okay.
like my baby. I remember that first sewing machine, and then I changed for different one, and I was selling the other one. I was the same, like so emotional and attached to those things. Later on, just to discover I was always attached to something. Later on, to people too, actually, and this was my actually block in life.
Interesting. So it was as opposed to being that connected to yourself.
Yeah, I think I wasn't connected to myself. That is why I was attaching to everything outside of me. But my inner child was actually crying and showing me, attached to me, back
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah. That's a that's hugely powerful. And I'm interested then in what's that then, what was that process for you then to actually, how do you actually do that?
This was a long process. I would call it like spiritual awakening, like in
Mm,
2021 was starting. Then I didn't know that people call it like this. Then I started to changing. Okay, I have enough, so I will just apply for divorce. And then actually I have to move from this house, so I can't do this my dressmaking anymore. So I have another degree. I can have to start to do something more with this. Then okay, coaching is great, but there was so much in the background what I couldn't understand why I am the way I am. And then first Reiki show up, and I did all the 3 levels that I'm a master and a teacher, so I can teach people too. I was 2 months ago. I was teaching my first group, but there was something more. I knew that working with energy is great, but there is not speaking with the people, not talking much. And actually, Reiki I can recommend to everyone who are not able to speak about their emotion and all of these things. But then just show up hypnotherapy, and this was the key. There is like the access to our subconscious mind and actually figure it out what is there, what the story is, like uncovering everything. And this was like
interesting.
my graal.
Yeah. So two things there. So there's the two areas that you've mentioned there, the sort of Reiki and the hypnotherapy. I
Mm.
know of them, but I don't know a huge amount about them as such.
For
So
me,
tell me about the Reiki first and what it actually is and what does it help people with?
actually for them, for me, they are connected. There is similar
Okay.
philosophy in the background, the way I
Yeah.
understand it, because this is always like we have all different point of view. We seeing from different perspectives. So how I see Reiki and hypnotherapy is actually similar because they are
Okay.
talking about subconscious mind, even Reiki not talking that much. But my Reiki master from Poland, because I have 3 Reiki masters, because I was curious to know much more. So the knowledge from one wasn't enough for me because I would like to know myself. So many
Yeah.
other way I was trying to figure it out. So the Reiki is like chi energy, actually our energy in ourselves. So channeling the energy to someone is actually being just a channel and they are their own self-healer. And the same is like in hypnotherapy. There is no way to hypnotize someone. There exists just self-hypnosis if someone let me to facilitate this process. So this is like not invading, not mind control, not control people. And this was what actually I felt being controlled from my childhood, later in the marriage and all of this. So I was looking for a way to doing something which be not controlling me and others.
Hi, James here. If you've been watching and thinking, I would like to make a change but not sure where to start, that's where I can help. My 12-week coaching program will enable you to reconnect with what matters most and move forward with clarity and confidence. If that sounds like you, head over to jamesdeancoach.com. Now let's get back to the episode.
And I find it.
That's really interesting because, and that's completely sort of with the hypnotherapy, especially where you described it there, breaks the assumption or the potential outside view of we have hypnotherapy because of film, TV. It's the cliche of someone, you're under, look into my eyes, that sort of, the dangling the watch, and then you get them to do something stupid. That's the sort of portrayal of it.
Mm-hmm.
So from an entertainment perspective, let's face it, or for whatever that reason. So from using it, because it's hypnotherapy, and you say about unlocking the subconscious, I said both of them similar. So specifically, I know you're using the two of them together, or you see them quite similar, but how does hypnotherapy help unlock someone's subconscious?
Because helping you remember your emotions. The way,
Okay.
because the story isn't that important, how you felt.
Okay.
Usually unwanted, unseen, in sometimes very like simple story as a child. But this takes so much impact on you and later on your beliefs about yourself. And the most like famous things is like when you are as me, the oldest child, and then another one is born. And you completely felt like unwanted because you, as a child, you don't understand why there show up another child. Especially I was just 1 year old when I got a sister, 2 years old when I got a brother, and then 6 when I got another brother. So when I got the fourth, like third siblings, I knew actually how this works, but before I didn't.
Yeah.
And I discovered all of this in hypnotherapy.
Okay. And what they say, I'm really interested in the sense of, because they say I haven't done it, haven't experienced it. What is the process when someone comes to you for a sort of hypnotherapy session? Can you tell me anything about the actual process compared to, say, if I'm working someone as a coach?
Mm-hmm.
I'm there's a way of doing it. What's the actual way of doing it with hypnotherapy?
First of all, it's always discovery call, just to check actually if hypnotherapy is the right for the client.
Mm,
If they are actually want to be hypnotized, because you can't hypnotize someone who actually don't want it, because there is
yeah,
just self-hypnosis. If
yeah,
someone just wants to, okay, just try me, they will not go.
yeah.
So there is no reason to do it. And then there is many types of hypnotherapy. So I was learning from Marisa Peer, the way
Oh,
what I'm
yes.
doing now, but 2 weeks ago I was starting the clinical hypnotherapy and psychotherapy in Cork. So I will learn the different way too, how to do it maybe in 1 hour, 2 hour. but I have like more like the process, like the first 75 minutes is like the intake, similar like a coaching, because it's normal in conscious talking about maybe I'm asking usually about maybe 5 problems in their life, and they're choosing the one which they will figure it out what is going on, they will have impact for others too. And then I'm asking about the symptoms, triggers, what's happening, all the things, and the life without this problem, and maybe how they would like to look like life, like what they want actually in their life. And from this, all this information when I'm gathering, I create the suggested therapy script. So I have this from the second session. I will reading it out loud on the end of the session when they are in deep hypnotherapy. And later on, because I'm actually okay, later on this going to the suggestion therapy audio too. But the second session is start with the actually intake. So there I'm letting them go to actually relaxed state. And actually, we have this state many times. I have usually when actually I'm driving for a long time and I didn't know actually I'm there. And many people
Yes.
have like this, like they're reading interesting story. When they talk with someone, even in the podcast, you talk, and then it's great. And then, and, but actually you not remember about what you was talking. Later on, you're just
Yes.
watching it. Because when there is like the fascinating conversation, you are just going like in the REM state a little bit, like the
Yes.
sleeping, but not sleeping because you are not
Yes.
sleep. You are aware about everything. So if something happened around you, actually you are alert. You are alarmed. That's everything. Like nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And when you are just went into this relaxation state, then I'm helping, like asking the question that your subconscious mind, the part which came up with those presenting problem, which we tell me like uh maybe feeling of not being good enough. It's I think the most popular. And then we're asking this part of you which would come with this to show you the moment, the scene, the phrase when this show up first time. And then we're going, I'm asking you how old you are, your eyes outside, inside. This was like the grounding question. And later we are with alone or with others, what's going on, how you feel, all of those things. And then uh, actually you're seeing this someone is I'm seeing someone is just feeling, someone just hearing, someone just knew that it's happening something, but actually you are not reliving this scene, just reviving like a watcher. You're just watching this.
Okay.
Something what
Yeah. Yeah.
some situation you remember that situation what's happening, but you don't know nothing about your feelings, how you felt. And what was important, what you needed to get at that moment when it was like distressing or um, maybe hurtful situation, but you're not getting.
So if I'm hearing it, you're getting the person to almost, as opposed to as if they're back in that moment themselves, is almost they're like looking at it from
Yeah,
a
looking at
third
it,
place, as if
not
they're looking at
being
it.
in this place,
Yeah.
actually feeling
Yeah.
all those feelings, because but
Yeah.
a lot of people crying, feeling actually
Sure.
this. It's not a
Sure.
purpose, but there is like the store emotions, and they when they're
Yeah.
crying, they feel much better because they understand it actually. Okay, this is the way like this. And actually, the other people who sometimes cause them feel that they didn't meant it.
Yeah. So yeah. So you're trying to get them to. Are you when you're doing that? You almost
Understand.
like understand exactly. So
This
they're like
understanding is
look
power.
at it. Yeah, looking at it from a different perspective, as if you're
Yes,
looking at that person, and is it because what it seems it's I can it's different in the sense of obviously from a coach much more specific. But are you when you take someone back to a situation like that, are they the one that's are they kind of leading it, or how do you if someone if they've got is it due to whatever particular thing they've come to you? How do you find which is the right thing to go back to? Do you know what I mean? How do you decide? Do they come up with
their
it, or
their subconscious mind. We are
Okay.
just facilitating the process. We're asking where you
Okay.
are, with who you are, what are you doing, how
Okay.
are you feeling, what is happening, and then what you needed but you didn't getting, what you need to heal,
Okay.
what you need to get, and then taking them out from the situation and going to the second scene, and then going to the third scene, because there is like three different scenes of situations which cause the same problem. And then sometimes we're going when we was maybe 12, then when you are ready after those process, sometimes you're going in the age of 4, and then sometimes younger.
Okay. Interesting.
Depends.
So it's so through where that initial sort of questioning, and then the sort of you said that intake and getting all that data and all that information, when someone's coming to you and whatever particular problem, and they're into that stasis, that sort of you're basically just asking a question from anywhere. Where are you? What are you doing? How old you are? So they're just come. So it's not necessarily you're not trying to dictate to them.
No,
You're now 12 or anything like that. They're coming up with that. Interesting, because they wouldn't have come up with it otherwise, I suppose. Because it's you're not trying to find.
everything,
Yeah, it's coming
no,
from them. Interesting.
everything what comes is the right thing, what their subconscious
Yeah.
mind wants to show them. I just
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
them to trust yourself. Everything what
Interesting.
show up is important about for this situation, for this
Yeah.
problem you are coming with. I'm doing two more things what actually I wasn't teach in the school, but I have this from different self-hypnotists. So when I'm in the scene and everything, I know all the situation, I'm asking them if they are ready, if they can step into the scene to this little one and give them or tell them everything what they needed, but they doesn't getting. And then I
Mm,
let them just to be in this situation, to talking in their mind in this. And when they back, if they want to, they can share it with me, but they don't have to. And in another thing that if they are ready, because sometimes people are not ready to back to the scene, like back to reviving the scene and talk to the parents or something like this. Sometimes they
mm,
are ready and they talk. And then I'm asking how the scene looks like now. And it's completely changed.
interesting. And it's one of the you said there is that phrase which we hear so much of people saying not good enough. I'm not whatever to do this, whatever that enough is of smart enough, clever enough, fit enough, thin
Yeah.
enough, whatever the enough is, don't have enough money, etc., etc. So much, as you say, before, as we were saying earlier in the chat, so much of it comes from our environment, whatever that is, whether it's family, immediate location, schooling, country. Do you know what I mean? All these things that have that impact on us. But it's we find ourselves like you found yourself as a dressmaker or as an alteration and going. Sometimes you think, how am I here? How did I? That moment of sort of going, and then it's only through the retrospection of going back to something of why people, because it's trying to find or help people to go, okay, so if you've got that self-awareness that you're not happy or where you are, and you want to be able to do something different and change, but in that moment you're not sure how to do it. This is where like the therapy that you can maybe help with, because it's going under and finding out what the thing is, because they'll be like they could be wrecking their brains thinking, I can't work this out. I don't know why I keep stopping myself. But it's only by going back to that scene that they've probably tried to ignore. Would that be right? That they've almost tried to forget about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
that's how it. So, I'm always interested. So, what's from your perspective, when you see someone, say, the first time, and when you meet them, whether it be in a discovery call or the first session, and then you see them at the end of when they're finished working with you, whatever how many sessions that might be, what is the difference that you see between the first
Mm.
person and the last person?
See, they are smiling.
Mm,
It's different. Like they have completely different energy,
yeah.
more calm. So this is like the freedom when you start to understand what was actually what is the word like directly, like, what was actually, because this was not your choice. There was
Mm,
something what was say like course your life because of of your beliefs.
mm. Something kind of holding them in that space. Yeah. That it's interesting. I like those words. They say like it's calm. Freedom's an interesting word to
Yeah,
use.
because yeah, our subconscious mind, our mind actually, the
Mm,
only job is just to keep us safe.
mm,
So when something was worked in our childhood with our parents and all of these people in the school and everything, so we will be in this comfort zone and we will be acting the same because what's worked. Even it doesn't work anymore. And actually we are not a child anymore. We can decide for ourselves.
yeah,
But our
yeah,
subconscious mind is a part of our inner child, so
yeah.
it's
It's
still a little.
yeah. It's a really interesting word you used there again. That phrase of feeling safe, because it's come up in a few different conversations I've had recently with people who are all in this kind of similar space and field, but coming from different perspectives. And one of the things that's come up, as opposed to where I would have previously phrased it myself, of people having a fear or afraid, whereas actually it's not necessarily feeling a fear, it's not feeling safe. And it
Yeah,
was an interesting distinction that there is a difference, that sort of you could be afraid of something, but that's quite almost can be quite surface level, if that makes sense. But not feeling safe feels a lot deeper and kind of goes back to those sort of things that you were talking about. So it's interesting. Is that something that you've experienced when you're working with people as well?
actually, I have my own story to tell you. There
Go,
is like
yeah.
recently I just overcome it. When I was in primary school, there I was running for a race. There was just 1,000 meters, so 1 kilometer.
Mm.
So and on the end of, I was feeling like actually I couldn't breathe. I was feeling like I'm almost dead and feeling awful, and no one cares. No one actually notices it. And in that moment, my beliefs was like actually running is danger. This can kill me. So I can't run. And over 20 years, I didn't run. Over much more than 20. And last Saturday, I just did marathon 10K.
Nice. That's
But this was
really,
like all the process for overcoming this fear to prove myself that actually my subconscious mind was lying to me.
yes. That's really interesting, because this is a really good example actually of this work, because the reason I say that is because when people can look at this from the outside, this whole space of coaching, hypnotherapy, therapy in general, all these sorts of work that we do, people this, can dismiss it, thinking it's just complete nonsense, and just think it's, and or they can think, well, I'm not complicated enough for that to work for me. We kind of think, oh, I have to be much more, you know, there has to be something completely wrong with me for it to work. But something that you said there, something as simple as believing that running is going to essentially kill you and make you hurt, or it's going to be really bad for you, can limit so much of what you might be able to do in older life. For any sort of physical activity of that broad general thing. So it's a really interesting and simple um, piece of work that you can change, that can have a massive difference on you physically. And the thing I found as well myself is, if you do tackle one of those beliefs, so say for example the one that you just did there, it opens up the mind to thinking, well, what else could I change?
Yeah, exactly. This is mind blowing.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
there is anything is possible actually now.
Yeah.
So then it's a process of checking all the beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely. Going through them 100%.
Yeah.
Um, So we did a huge amount there on the hypnotherapy, which is really cool and interesting. Go back to the Reiki a bit more, because just a little bit more in a sense of, I know you kind of seeing them together, but tell me a little bit more about, say, if someone comes to you for Reiki, what does that look like?
Actually, I did the two type of Reiki because there is the Western and traditional, but I'm more following the traditional because the Western is actually good for our Western minds when we have all the hands of position and all of those things, like the mind is working because thinking, okay, this working because I'm doing all those things. With the traditional, actually, you're listening to your intuition. You put the hands exactly when you feel that the body is needed. So you're doing everything what they need. Even you're doing you're thinking that actually I put the hands in wrong position. No, the body is needed exactly this way. Trusting is there. You trust, learning how to trust yourself, how to trust the universe. All actually we're all one. So trusting all the people around you.
Yeah. So tell me.
It's like the way of living. This isn't like a job. This is something what
Okay.
actually you're doing every day. Actually, when I bringing
Okay.
all the shopping or grocery from, I'm just like uh, doing something like mm, cleansing all the things from all the negative energy, because the people actually are in the bad moods or something, they're angry or something like this, and they're leaving their energy on everything. So I don't want it at my home, and I have nothing to do with those people. So just cleansing and everything and energize. Even when I take a water, I forgot to, and when I just energized a glass of water, after drinking it, I have a completely different flavor. After just taking this and just energize it. And after a minute or two doing something like this, water is different.
Interesting.
Especially actually everything is like most of things are from water.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where with Reiki, it
You can use
almost,
it every day
yeah.
for yourself, for your family, and for people too. And you can teach them actually to do it on their own. So I'm at the moment teaching just the level 1, most for yourself and for your family, just to using. I'm not planning much to teaching other people, maybe to teach others or something like this.
Yeah.
It's enough if they learn for themselves how to use their own energy, because
Mm.
this is their own energy, living life force.
Yeah. So so it's, and I think this is where sometimes and we were talking about it throughout the chat, the idea of tapping into the more subconscious mind, and the more, it's almost some ways allowing yourself that sort of to believe in something that you cannot see or feel, or there's, it's having that sort of, taking that step of just going with something. that's
Trusting.
that's the trusting is exactly the word you
Yeah.
used, versus, because there's, in so much of what we can experience, and again on that surface level, we can have with that air of cynicism, and we can have with that sort of almost blocking sense of, oh no, you know what I mean, pushing it away almost, to saying, because it's, if I don't see it, then I don't believe it, type thing, versus that being ability to sort of let go of something, or let go of what you believe in. You saying having that word of trust to go with it. I'm interested in, again, the same question with someone who you've, again, with doing Reiki with, the before and after you've worked with them through that. What's that sort of image like of the person, the before and after?
Mm, Actually, they are more calm because Reiki is usually for relaxing because people are
Yeah.
stressed and all of this. And there, I think there is the one universal rules, like what you think is exactly how it is all around you because you create it by your thoughts. If you think that something you can trust in something, it's exactly like everything around showing you that actually you are on the right path and everything is show up for you. But when you will be thinking that actually the world is against you,
Yeah.
you will get approved very quickly, one
Yeah.
after another. So
Absolutely.
the choice is yours.
Yeah.
You can decide.
Absolutely. I know. I absolutely agree with that. And I'll give you an example actually myself. So to do with you obviously we're doing this recording now on the show, and last not this but a little bit later than this time, sort of coming up towards maybe this time last year, November time last year, I kind of took a break from recording and doing the show, and I was taking it just reevaluating stuff. Was I still wanted to do it because it takes a bit of time and all these sorts of things. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to pause. I still had whatever stuff to put out, just going to pause it for the moment. And with not that I'm ending it, I didn't put out any posts or announcements or anything like that. I just kind of just let it be for the moment. And then it was around, I think, February this year, March this year, early in the year, I was like, you know what, I've missed doing this. And I kind of regained the sight of why I was doing this show. And I went back into it. And in the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 months, whereas before I would have been like scrambling or trying to find someone to come on the show, asking people to come on as guests. In the last 2 to 3 months, I haven't had to ask anyone. People are asking to come on the show. And that's a massive difference. So people are finding it resonating with them, understanding they know more about. So the fact that I just kind of trusted it, I just went back in and went, you know what, I want to do this. It's too important for me not to do this. That was what my perspective was. It's too
That's right.
important to not ask this question to people. And as soon as I went in with that perspective, I'm getting not just from individuals, but from like PR companies, from media companies. Will you interview? Would I think my, member of this would be really good to come on? So it's interesting when the cynic would say, "Oh, that's nonsense," or if you just trust. But I did, and it's what I mean. To the point now that I have enough people lined up that's going to go into next year. So
Right.
you know what I mean. So like the example you gave with the running there. I have a real so part of me wants to think it's nonsense, but part of me thinks, well, it can't be because I have the experience of it. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah. I have similar story with the running. I was because I'm hiking from over 3 years, and
Yeah.
I think maybe 5, 6 months ago, I was talking with our leaders on hiking on the hike actually, and I tell her because she's running a lot, and tell her that I have this fear, and I was telling her actually what I'm doing and what I'm doing with hypnotherapy, and I have this fear and I would like to overcome it, and then I start to working with this, and she set up a club for running too, and I just signed up for their. I have their t-shirt and everything, and my first run was like with the club.
Yeah.
So everything is possible. She was set up the WhatsApp group for this, and then actually send the link to sign up for the marathon. I would be maybe not looking at for it, but everything was show up when I just tell her that actually I would like to overcome it. But take time
Yes.
sometimes because this is
Yes.
a process. And actually
Yes.
for training, I was so avoiding it.
Yep.
I was signing up like few months before marathon, but start training I think 6 weeks before. So it was like very quick time. The
Yeah.
first time
Yeah.
when I was running, like the 2 minutes, 5 minutes running was like almost impossible for me and was like the hurt and
Yeah.
but then 10K no stop, just running slowly
Love
but
it.
still running. And I actually uh normally on the training was like an hour 37 minutes, but on the marathon I crossed the line at 11:11 actually. Was one
Nice.
hour and 11 minutes, so 26 minutes quicker than
Yeah.
normally.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. I love the word I always love. It came to my mind. It's that whole thing of serendipity. Serendipity. That's sort of the things that fall into place if you're willing to put yourself in those places, as you say. So it's. I think it comes back to that word again of the trust that you said earlier. So whatever it is, if you have that trust in it, are willing to say it, and one of the things that I meant to say it earlier, actually, you just said it, you reminded me there now, when you were talking about moving from sort of being the dressmaker and into what you're doing now. One of the things you said that you most enjoyed when you were doing the alterations was the conversation you had with the person. Then they had left and you had to go do the work, and you're kind of like, well, this is okay, I've got to do it, but it is not as interesting or as exciting as the connection piece. So it's like there's that. I think there's that element of when you actually talk to people, listen to people, connect with people. It's like things move along, because things will happen when you start asking questions and start listening. There's definitely that connection piece to me as well as the thing that can move you further forward or quicker, or in a direction you didn't necessarily know you needed to go. But it's reaching out and asking those questions really can make a difference.
There was many situations in last 4 years that I was like in the situation I didn't know what to do next, and then everything was unfolding exactly like supposed to be, but not as I planned.
Yes.
Completely different, but definitely exactly as I needed. But I didn't know it. I just
Yes.
trusted because there was no other way to do. I had
Yes.
no control on it. I was trying to have, but that was not good idea
Yeah.
to control anything. Just trust and just do the
Yeah.
job. When there's something just show up, there always is something what you have to do for this.
Yeah.
To show the universe actually you want it.
Yeah.
You are ready.
It's yeah, that's a really interesting word, that word control, isn't it? Because when we do try to, I think there's a difference between doing the work that we all have to do, the sort of various bits and pieces we have to do in whatever we're trying to do, and versus trying to control everything. And my thing was always the thing that got me sort of stuck at times was focusing. I was trying to control the outcome. I was trying to control the result. And that's just an impossible thing to do, because we don't know what the outcome will be. We don't know what's going to happen. It's great to have plans and goals and, look forward and have all this stuff. But if find myself that I'm kind of getting into that space of I'm just procrastinating or ruminating on something, the awareness is like, yeah, because you're trying to hold on to something that you have no control over. So it comes back to that. Well, what can you do in the moment as best you can, and what will be kind of
I
the
think it's
approach.
Yeah, I think it is because when we changing, that all income is changing, so there is no one plan,
Yes.
and we're starting to trying to control from our past beliefs, but we are working on
Yeah.
ourselves and we are changing. So this can't be this way because we are in the process of changing.
Yeah.
It's like
Absolutely.
in the quantum that there is like many possibilities, different
Yes.
way of living
Yeah.
our
Absolutely.
avatar.
Absolutely. No, love it. There's a few questions I like to ask everyone, Margaret. So the first one I'd like to ask you are there any quotes or phrases that are important to you?
Yeah, actually, I have two of them,
Love
and
it.
both of them is by Carl Jung. Is like the first one is that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and the second one is like until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So it's all associated with the things what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he's so much wisdom in those ones. Say the first one again for me.
Uh, privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are.
Yeah, yeah. And it's you can see the words in there, but it's even that word privilege
Hmm.
has a such a sets it up so well, isn't it? When you see life as a privilege and see yourself as a privilege, it goes back again to valuing yourself, being good enough, worthy. It's a great word, privilege. When used in this right context, I think it can be twisted in a certain way, unfortunately, in modern day context. But if you think of it in that way, in a sense of like, it's such a privilege to be here. You know what I mean? Just to have
Exactly.
consciousness. It's a beautiful one. And say the second one again for me.
Until you make the conscious unconscious, you will it will direct your life, and you will call it fate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Our programming.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And call it. Yeah. And
Mhm.
call it fate. So it's versus bringing it into now, and as opposed to thinking, oh, that was just lucky, or that was just
Or just
having
thinking,
it.
I am the way I am. The
Yeah.
way I am just because I am, and
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
others people's fault, not mine. Like
Yeah.
blaming
Absolutely.
others because I am because
Yeah.
of my father. I am like this because of my mother. I am like this because the school I finished, or all of this, or because I was bullying at the school or something like that. But there was always the lesson, something what you can actually use the alchemize to something like the big lesson.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think there's definitely that the thing of the experience. It's not to um, belittle anyone's past experiences that may have been. I think there's this thing of, like, I've said a few people in this the show, is like, what we perceive as trauma is all relative to our individuals. So it's only whatever we've experienced. So we can't. It's a one that you can get into a comparison of it, but something that doesn't seem as traumatic to someone else, to that individual, it could be very traumatic. So it's all relative to one's own experience. But if you're constantly living in the feelings of that trauma, or living in those experiences, whatever they were, negative or whatever they were, versus accepting them, taking some sort of responsibility and accountability for what you can do now, then you'll always be held back.
This is the goal, to take responsibility on your life, on your past, present, and future, not blame others, because we have the power to change.
Absolutely, 100%. Love those two quotes. No, I really do, and I think I've got his. No, don't think I have got Carl Jung's there. I've got the amount of the books I've got behind me, but he's definitely one that he's going to be on the list. Who have been the biggest influences in your life?
I think the Carl Jung,
Yeah,
yeah. And there is some other influences, but he is the best.
love it,
Because
love
from
it.
the others, I just taking the part of something. But with
Something,
him, I'm completely agree.
love it, love it. Um, it's been wonderful to chat to you, Margaret. It's been absolutely fabulous to learn more, especially about the hypnotherapy. I think it's clearly such a powerful tool. And before I let you go, I do have one more question for you, which is, what's important for your future?
Mm, I think for my future, still doing the work, and then everything will unfold. Like going out of my comfort zone, like the making them bigger and bigger. And sometimes I've heard something like the people was saying that some people actually never had one because they was living in the survivor mode, and I think it was me in my
Mm,
past. So there was like something what supposed to be like someone can call comfort zone actually was just like survivor mode that was able to cope with this.
mm, that's an
Because
interesting one,
many
isn't
people
it?
actually doesn't have some comfort zone.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take, isn't it? That it's not even you say it's not even in a comfort zone, it's a survival
Yeah,
space that
it
people are
is.
living in and just getting through. No, interesting. I actually, before I let you go, actually, I'm interested, because you're now, you're doing this for yourself,
Mhm.
as your own business. How have you found that transition, working for yourself?
Actually, I'm completely different than year ago, 2 years ago, and I'm sure that after New Year I will be much different person. I'm more open for people. I was afraid of people actually in the past, or not even knowing about it. I
Yeah,
was afraid of the men's.
yeah.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah. No, I'm delighted to. Obviously, you found what you're doing. You clearly love it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I can see it, and I absolutely, and I think and I think that's the thing with anything, isn't it? You 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 know when someone's really does. love it, believe it, does it themselves. It's, you know what I mean? Versus just trying to quote unquote sell something. Do you know what I mean? It's different. So I can
I
definitely,
don't like selling
I
things.
know, yeah, absolutely. But I can see how much it means to you. I really do, and I think it's always wonderful to see that. I wanted to make sure that other people understand that and know that and get to know you more. So we will put links in the show notes. But if you would like to give a shout out now of where people can follow and connect with you online.
So people can find me on my website, mkjinnercoaching.com, on social media, the same like MKJ Inner Coaching, or my name, Margaret K-Jerczyńska,
Lovely stuff.
like
So those,
almost all social media.
brilliant. So yeah, so all those, the links are going to be in the notes there of where you can follow and connect with Margaret. Margaret, once again, thank you so much for chatting to me.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Bye.
Hey. Thanks for listening to What's Important to You. If you enjoyed this episode, follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if it resonated, share it with someone who might need it too. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment or ask a question, and let's keep the conversation going. I'm James Dean, and I'll be back soon with another real conversation to help you reconnect with what truly matters. Until then, take care and stay curious.